Howdy, Spenglers. It's the Wild West out here. We're going to be discussing an issue pricklier than a cactus: building regulations. Our general contractor friends know good and well there are a ton of superfluous, outdated, and not so thought out rules that add inefficiencies and expense and headache. Worry not, we're not advocating for adding those kinds of rules. We're talking proper structure and a system built with the right people at the helm. Let's explain what the German method looks like compared to the American method so you can see the difference for yourselves. Well, we do have safety organizations and product testing like ASTM, thank goodness, and some modicum of structure from the International Code Council. Overall, we're run by rather sparse regulations. Those that do exist vary from state to state, municipality, and region, so thin standards can be stretched thinner depending on a bunch of variables. Hold off calling the sheriff's posse and taking out your torch and pitchforks there for a moment, partners. You might get a little riled up regardless, but give me a chance to get you all on board. Take a minute to think about it. Where do standards come from? Who sets them? Why are they set? Did you know a large chunk of American building rules have originated from legal precedents? Not credentialed industry experts who implement the same core techniques as the masters of old whose work has stood maintenance-free for 1,000 years. Court decisions. That's about as American as it gets. Spengler Industries is physically located in a wild part of the Wild West, where locals like to speak of the pioneers who settled here and wanted to build beautiful things. What did they do to achieve this? They sent key people to Europe to study and train and observe. Why Europe? Because in Europe, building standards and knowledge have been passed down since the Middle Ages. Guilds were responsible for training and apprenticeship, quality control, regulation of materials and techniques, standardization of practices, community and collaboration, influence on urban planning, and so much more. While the guild system declined in importance with the rise of industrialization and modernization, its legacy of influence on contemporary building standards and practices in Germany and beyond cannot be overstated. The emphasis on craftsmanship, quality, and tradition promoted by medieval guilds laid the foundation for modern construction industries and regulatory frameworks focused on safety, sustainability, and professionalism. Henry Hobson Richardson, an American architect known for his influential Richardsonian Romanesque style, drew inspiration from European Romanesque architecture during his travels and studies abroad. Some American architects of the late 19th and 20th centuries, such as Ralph Adams Cram and Bertram Goodhue, traveled to Europe to study Gothic architecture before designing prominent Gothic revival buildings in the United States. While the concept of skyscrapers originated in the United States, we build cool stuff too. Early skyscraper architects like Louis Sullivan and Daniel Burnham were influenced by European architectural principles and engineering techniques. Pretty much anyone who's a big player in building and architecture has some understanding of and respect for the European method. A few rare outliers aside, has the United States ever in its history implemented a widely available comprehensive trades program? No? Then where's the information coming from? What do you imagine happens in a knowledge vacuum? What happens is people do the best they can. But how would you feel about that if that were applied to your surgeon? Does it matter that buildings are built well? Well, I suppose if you get nihilistic enough, nothing matters. But Americans and New Worlders in general don't understand the massive impact poor building standards have on them because it's just what they're used to. We suffer in myriad ways because of insufficient building standards. Environmental impacts are way up there, but if that's not your motivator, I could easily spend 2 hours talking about the countless economic factors affecting us both collectively and individually. We're dealing with legal woes way above and beyond what we should have to, and we live in a sad sea of asphalt, while our European counterparts are surrounded by loveliness. Not fair. And innumerable health and safety issues. We've seen the impact severe cold or heat has on communities over and over, especially when power grids go out. People die because there's no warm enough or cool enough building in which they can seek refuge. At some point, we're dealing with a moral failing here. In Germany, yes, they have milder climates than we do, but you're never going to see an air conditioner. Quick, think of a typical windowsill. Something plasticky about 4 inches wide come to mind? Now think of what that window looks like on the outside of a building. More or less flush with the wall or even protruding, right? When you walk through a doorway, most walls are what? 6 inches thick? 6 inches between you and the elements. In Germany, you have to take at least 2 giant steps to make it in and out of a building. This is what the windows look like on the outside and the inside of a wall in Germany. Big difference, yes? Oh, and a standard window is 4 panes. That's baseline, standard. Here's how they make walls. The standard masonry bricks they use are 30 centimeters, which is about 1 foot long. Add at least 20 centimeters of insulation on top of that, and at least 2 inches of stucco on top of that. In the US, you'll get a thicker slathering of cream cheese on your bagel than stucco on your house. In Germany, we actually fasten our downspouts into just the stucco, and they last securely this way forever. Do you have to have brick walls over there? No, but expect to get out your fattest wallet, as the price for a wood frame is several times that of a brick wall structure. Framers in Germany predominantly focus most of their work on the roof. A full house frame is a craftsman tour de force. They use no nails. Are there hacks in the design build community in Germany? Of course, they are everywhere. But even cutting corners in their method results in a 10x R value, that of an American building. Have you ever seen a furnace room in Germany? It is a work of art. It's not just buildings. How many bumpy highways do you drive over on a daily basis? If that happened on the Autobahn, there would be a public outcry heard from space. Planning, skill, and efficiency matter. Everything interacts with something else, so it all has to work at the same level. Benjamin Franklin's version of a famous proverb goes like this: "A little neglect may breed mischief. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. And for want of a horse, the rider was lost." Other versions dramatically add a slippery slope argument that since the rider was lost, the battle was lost, then the kingdom was lost. Dramatic effect aside, the point is, details matter a lot. I had a teacher who had a sign in her studio that said, "The amateur will practice until they get it right. The professional will practice until they can't get it wrong." Are we demanding more from our musicians than our building standards? The newest latest shown at American trade shows has probably been in use for 50 years in Germany. It's embarrassing we're so far behind. We need to up our game. After making one of my presentations at a lunch and learn for an architecture firm, they joked that they always hear from vendors how their product and method is cheaper and faster. I countered, "What? Not longer and more expensive?" Though everyone laughed at my brilliant wit, they understood, as we all do, that certainly the latest in technology and efficiencies need to be implemented and constraints respected. And at the same time, if you ask most Germans with meager budgets how they view building standards, they will tell you they can't afford not to have a home built well. I'd like to close out my thoughts with an anecdotal story that's just meant to be a metaphor and not medical advice. A friend of mine, plagued by horrible migraines her entire life and about 50 pounds heavier than she wished, went on a whole food diet. Nothing in a bag, nothing in a box, just real food with limited sugar. After a few weeks, she started seeing some incredible results. But one fateful day, as she was driving home, the most intoxicating smell wafted through her window. She realized it was coming from the familiar fried snack stand she used to patronize most days on her way home. But she firmly put her hands on the wheel and said, "No, that is not food. What I eat is food." She's been faithful to her diet ever since and is enjoying a functioning body she never thought she would have. She had a paradigm shift as to what she determined was food, and her life quality improved beyond her dreams. Thomas S. Kuhn is perhaps most famously known for popularizing the term paradigm shift. When up against something worthy that challenges my cognitive biases, I think of him and I think again. I would like to invite you to think about what makes a building. Is it a cardboard box or a tent? No, really, what is the definition of a building? If something can fail under normal circumstances, is that okay? Is sticking the owner for a lifetime of heat tape use something you feel good about? If most of the damage in high wind areas occurs from pieces of roof being ripped off and in turn becoming missiles which destroy everything around them, is that moral? If there are real solutions out there that permanently solve for all these things, why aren't we using them? I can assure you those solutions do exist. I invite everyone listening to this to join us in raising the New World building standards. We'll help you achieve your goals, and together, we're stronger. Bis bald.